What's up, Squiddy? I think we're live, Squiddy. Do you have anything you want to say? There you go. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to have to spam our Discord. I forgot to do this in the last live stream I had, so I should go do it. I should double spam. I should do this twice. All right, you need to stay out of the way so I can type. All right, Discord. Discord. What am I doing? I am going to that channel right there, and then you're going to do all right, there we go. I'm gonna do copy the link and bam. All right, I'm good to go. Whee! My dog needs to take it down a level. She's ping-ponging off everything. She got her food. She's not getting more food. All right, there we go. I've spammed Discord. I should probably go spam Twitter too. I don't go on Twitter very much anymore. It's like a negative cesspool. Every time I go on there, I don't even want to go on there. Where's Twitter? There we go. This will be like the first time I've been on Twitter in like a week or more. Hope people don't send me messages on Twitter and expect me to see them. Post. You know what's interesting is I've been on Reddit. What was I doing? I was doing like video research or something. I was doing something. No. So I'll tell you. Let me get this post out. Post that. Oh shoot. Oh, that's life. So I've been playing this game called Stellaris, and not a whole lot recently because I got bored. But when I was trying to learn how it worked and stuff and what to do, I just do Google searches about how to do stuff in Stellaris, and a lot of times it would take me to a subreddit called Stellaris probably, and it was very helpful. Lots of useful information. My point is that I don't know. I think Twitter may have replaced Reddit as like, you know, the cesspool of negativity in our society or something. I don't know. So because at least the Stellaris subreddit was very useful. It seemed like pretty cool. So anyway, all right. What are we doing today? Let's say hi. Oh, I have to eat this too. Does anybody have? Who else has some of these things right here? Reese's peanut butter trees. Yeah, Reese's peanut butter trees. Did anybody get any of these for Christmas and stuff? I'm gonna eat one right now. If you don't have one, I'm just gonna make you jealous. If you have your own, feel free to eat one. Oh, there's a cat. Well, yeah, there's a cat right there. Roll a d20 for how to eat. I'm just gonna eat it like I normally eat it. Somebody's gonna leave a negative comment about the wrapper crinkling. How can you do that? My ears. All right. I know negativity on the internet. I watched this movie that Netflix was pushing on me called. It was some like end of the world movie with Julia Roberts in it. I forget the name of it, but Netflix was pushing it on me, like totally, like would not stop recommending this movie to me. So finally, Leave the World Behind, I think it's called. Oh yeah, I have excellent audio quality. This proves it. Leave the World Behind, horrible movie by the way. Don't watch it. It's trash, garbage movie. It's one of those apocalyptic movies that doesn't tell you anything, take it down a level. It's one of those movies where there is no ending, if that makes sense. And I hate those movies. They're trying to be all like, I don't know what they're trying to do, artistic, or they're trying to like break from the standard movie making techniques. I don't know what they're doing, but they're idiots. They're stupid morons. I hate those movies. There was another apocalyptic Into the World movie that I watched a couple months ago. It did the same thing. At least the one I just watched kind of told you what was actually happening to end the world. The other one I watched a few months ago didn't even tell you what was happening. There was no explanation at all. Like, the only reason you watch these apocalyptic movies really is to see what the scenario is. You know, like, why is the world ending? You know, what is the thing this time? You know, I mean, you know, and that's why you're watching it usually. And the protagonist, you probably want to see what happens to them. Do they survive? You might even want to know if there's a resolution to the apocalypse and if things turn out all right. You know, but you at least want to know what is causing the apocalypse, the end of the world, right? And the one from a few months ago, I forget the name of it. It didn't even tell you anywhere. And so I'm like, okay, well, there are lots of smart people that watch these movies and they leave comments on the internet. So probably I can find an explanation on the internet. I must have missed something. Nope. There was nobody knew. The movie never said anything. There was no explanation. I hate that crap. Aoife, what's up? How you doing? I'm enjoying a Reese's peanut butter tree. Was Twitter ever a positive cesspool? No. Probably not. Yeah, cool guy Nolan. You're totally right. That movie, World Left Behind, whatever the heck it is, has a horrible reviews. Like, people are just like dogging it, just absolutely dogging that movie. I suspect that there's some political motives behind it, though. If you look at who's like on the, not the cast, but like involved with the movie, producing it and stuff, I think there's probably some political motivations, and people are probably just telling all of their Facebook groups or Twitter people or whatever they do to go leave a negative review. So anyway, but it does suck. So even if they're downing it because of political reasons, it still is a sucky movie and deserves it. Totally deserves it. I actually watched this stupid thing. My wife gave up about halfway through. She's like, this movie is boring and stupid, and she was done. And I was like, I gotta find out what happens, and I finished watching it. That was a bad idea. That was another hour of my life wasted. At least it was on a lunch break, so I like, you know, I was taking a break from work, you know, and not like screwing around. Well, you know, you gotta take a break very so often. But anyway. I'm almost done with my Reese's peanut butter cup, and then we're gonna start. Oh wait, I'm sorry. It was a peanut butter tree. We were talking about The World Left Behind, I think. It's horrible. It's on Netflix. Netflix wouldn't stop recommending it to me. My gosh. Horrible garbage movie. It had some, you know, like famous people too in it. Like, you know, actors and crap. Julia Roberts, Kevin Bacon was in it. The other people, I don't know who they were. Not that I'm super well versed on actors and actresses and crap, but I recognize those two people. We're like, yeah, we'll act in your crappy movie. They probably read the script and they're like, this movie sucks, but they got money or something. I don't know why maybe they thought it was okay. I don't know. It's a horrible movie though. All right, you guys ready to rock and roll? I'm ready to rock and roll. I probably have peanut butter stuck in my teeth. You guys are gonna get to see that. All right, let's start this. Okay, what do I gotta do? Gotta push some buttons and stuff. That was hard. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the live stream. We are doing a Q&A tonight, so you can throw your questions in the chat, and I will answer them and stuff. That's kind of how we do this. So if that's not apparent, I shouldn't have to explain this, should I? So yeah, that's what we're doing. It's gonna be fun. chill and relax. I might go get some more candy for my Christmas stocking. How was everybody's Christmas and crap? Did you get some nice gifts? My wife was like, Luke, what do you want for Christmas? And I'm like, I don't know. I was telling her, I'm like, when I was a kid, like, I would always want video games, you know? Like, I would want this stuff, you know? Video games, and usually video games. When I was really young, toys, but then it became video games. Everything was video games. And now I'm like, I don't know what I want. I'm like, just give me some shirts. Like, you know, when I was a kid, like, you hated getting clothing for Christmas, you know? Because it's like, I don't want clothing, I want a video game. So your grandma would give you like socks and stuff, and you're like, no, you know? But now it's like, yeah, just give me some new D&D shirts so that I can get rid of some of the old ones and wear some new ones or something, you know? So that's my gift. And then, I'll probably think of something in like March or April and be like, hey, remember how you didn't get me anything for Christmas? Could I have this? All right, what are we doing? Okay, so we got to do our sleazy plugs. The first thing is that we are doing a giveaway tonight. It's tonight. Squeaky, if you want to be on the stream, just jump up here. Okay, come on, you big turd. You're such a pain in the butt. Get up here. Jeez. Oh, that's right. All right, giveaway. There should be a link in the chat. Who we got? We got Freight Train. Freight Train is here. Meepy's here. What up, guys? These guys should leave a link in the chat for the giveaway. We're doing DM Lair store credit. Inventory is getting very low on all of our physical books. So the giveaway is now just store credit. And if there is inventory remaining, you can use the store credit to get a physical book if you want a physical book. Like, I was giving away copies of Into the Fae, but our inventory is getting low on that. And we're probably, for Layers and Legends and Loot and Lore, we're almost sold out totally on those. Those are almost totally gone. So, get store credit. I mean, you can still get PDFs, you know, because we sell PDFs too. Crap, and we have Foundry modules. Anyway, store credit. Join the giveaway. It's easy. It's free. We'll draw the winner at the end of the stream tonight. All right, cool. Next thing is we are raising money for a charity again. So, I forgot to put the thing up there. I forgot to do all that stuff. Okay, hold on a second. We should be able to, let's figure this out. We're raising money for, I'm gonna show you who they are. We've raised money for them before. Where's my screen thingy? I got two. Where's my button, dude? I got two cats up here now. Jeez. All right, so we are raising money for All God's Children. What they basically do, they help children, basically. That's the whole idea. But one of the things that they do a lot of work with is orphans in tons of different countries, especially like third world countries. So they work with orphans. They do stuff like they help them get education and stuff. Like, you can click through their site. There's a link in the chat for our giveaway. You can go check these guys out and stuff. But like, where was it? One of the things I was reading about, you know, about them is that, well, they do adoptions and stuff, but we're going to talk about that. Oh, the education sponsorship. So not only do they, like, you know, feed, clothe and stuff like that, but they also make sure kids have educations and stuff. So that's super cool. And they also help with trafficking, human trafficking as well. I didn't find a place on their site where they specifically mentioned that, but I didn't click around a whole lot. But I learned about these people originally because they were mentioned in the news, in like a Florida sheriff was giving a debriefing and talked about having busted a bunch of human traffickers and how All God's Children had like a local chapter or whatever they call in the area that was helping them deal with, you know, help the people that were rescued and stuff from the trafficking. So anyway, we're raising charity for them. And if you want to donate, all tips, 100% of all tips will go to charity. So you can, there's a link in the chat, it's tip and all that kind of stuff. If you don't want to send the money to me so that I can send it to them, you can donate to them directly as well. You can literally sponsor a kid. You can directly pick a kid you want to sponsor if you want to do that. You could also just like probably give to them in general, just into like their general fund or something if you want to. Or you can send it to me and then we're gonna raise, my goal is always $500, and once we get that, we send that over to them. So that is what we are doing as far as trying to help out some kids that need our help. I was actually thinking about sponsoring a kid myself today. I didn't have time to really look at all the profiles and stuff, but I was thinking about it. So anyway, I don't know. We might just raise $500 and call it a day. But if you want to help out some kids, this is one way to do it. All right. And then what was I going to do? Oh, I wanted to set up, you know what I wanted to do, you guys? I wanted to set up, let's go into stream elements because you're going to do this with me because I forgot to do this. But there is a, where is my thingy? I can't even find this. Streaming tools, there we go, my overlays. We're going to change my overlay because I forgot, I have this little bar that tells us how much money we've raised and I forgot to put it up here. I think this is the one, my live streams overlay. Let's check out this one. This is probably it. Oh, wow. This has got to be it. Tip goal. Let's see. This is probably the one. There we go. Tip goal. And that should be good. Let's save it. Save. There we go. I fixed it. It's on the screen now. It's a little, it's not quite centered properly, but it's at least it's on the stream. The next thing I got to do is I got to reset the counter because the counter was tracking from our last charity that we raised, so I need to reset the counter and I forget where to do that. Activity feed, dashboard, where's the stupid thing? I forget. Revenue history. Yeah, there's not going to be very much there. Not through stream elements. Where do I do this? Okay, all right, hold on a second. I'm gonna have to click through a bunch of screens. I don't know what the heck they show, so you're just gonna have to bear with me here. I have to reset that number. They changed my interface around. They totally changed my interface around. Widget data, I think that might be it. Is that it? Widget data? Goals, there it is. I have fixed it. Tip goal progress is 0. What is my tip goal? Save changes. But where is my goal? Session data? Tip count? Totals? I'm lost, you guys. Not the labels. Then that's right, it's just not updating. I don't know why it's not updating. Reset goals. Yeah, just reset my goals. Whoop. Save changes. I don't know why it's not showing up in the bar down below, but we're not going to worry about it a whole lot because I can't figure it out. I don't know what's going on. All right, let's do the Q&A. How about we do that? Oh yeah, Aoife, you've heard of that sheriff too? Yeah, he gives these, like, he's in Florida. He gives these very long debriefings. There is this one that I remember specifically. There was this horrible person, and he was doing some really bad stuff. I forget the details. But I do remember that there were like a handful of deputies that basically just mag dumped on this guy. And I think he was shot dozens of times, like dozens of times. And then it was somebody in the media. He was giving his debrief, and he said, some of you may be asking, or you know, why we shot him 44 times. And the reason we shot him 44 times is that we didn't have any more bullets. That's what he said. And I was like, oh, this guy means business. So I thought that was funny. Some people are probably deeply offended right now and are leaving, but that's fair. All right, let's do some questions. Andrew Downing says, I heard that spellcasters on Pathfinder 2nd edition are more utility and don't do near the damage as martial characters. Is this actually true? I don't think so. I have not noticed a damage discrepancy in my play in Pathfinder 2. I will tell you though that they fixed Fireball. Fireball doesn't do 8d6 damage anymore. It does 6d6 damage, which is what it should do at level 3. And even in 5th edition, if you go into the Dungeon Master Guide and you go into the section about creating your own spells, it literally gives you a guideline for if a spell does damage, how much damage it's supposed to do at a certain level. And 3rd level spells in 5th edition D&D are supposed to do, according to the rules of the Dungeon Master Guide, they're supposed to do 6d6 damage at level 3. And yet Fireball does 8d6 damage. It's like pound for pound crazy powerful compared to any damage dealing spell at that level. You know, it's just insane. So anyway, in Pathfinder 2, it does 66 damage because, you know, it's like I've said this before, but from reading Pathfinder 2 and now playing it for, how long have I been playing it? I've been playing it for over 6 months, probably close to 8 months, 9 months or something like this time. But they've basically taken most of the things that were broken in 5th edition and they've fixed them. And obviously the rules are slightly different and stuff, and they made a bunch of improvements. And there's no longer bounded accuracy. We now have just, you know, scaling and stuff, which fixes a lot of problems and makes things very interesting. So they did a whole lot of cool stuff. But what was the question? I don't think spellcasters are gimped, though. I think that is not correct at all. No. Now, the thing you might think about, though, is that from what I've seen and experienced, Pathfinder 2 is a way better balanced system. Like, the game designers put a lot of work into balancing that system. Like, it is, the math and everything seems super tight. So that means more than likely, because what you have in 5th edition D&D is, as casters get higher and higher level, they get access to stupid stuff that can break the game, so to speak. Now, we're only level 4 going on 5 in Pathfinder 2 right now in my group. So we haven't gotten into like the high level spells, but I can tell you in 5th edition D&D, spellcasting gets stupid powerful. And melees, it depends on the melee. They're not like pushovers at high levels in D&D 5th edition, but they can't come anywhere near to the stuff that some spellcasters can do with certain spells in D&D 5th edition. Some of the spells just don't have very good wording, and so it's up to interpretation, and sometimes your game master might just be more permissive and allow you to do crazy stuff. So I don't know. So I would wager a guess that probably spellcasting at higher levels in Pathfinder 2 is more balanced and doesn't get as wonky as it does in 5th edition. And if that means that they're not as powerful, well, then that's probably a good thing, because some spells in 5th edition D&D are just dumb broken and should not have been written the way they're written, in my opinion. And yes, Effa, thank you so much for $100 tip. She says, I wanted a signed book someday from you. Until then, funny dance or song of praise, please. Oh, I don't want to do a funny. You can't just send me money and like think that I'm gonna do a dance or something. That's, I don't know. We'll see. We will take it under consideration. I'm like, now I'm dancing for money. That seems a little like, you know, like I don't have a pole in the background. All right, Squirty. Well, you can't rub against. Don't rub against the camera. What is this? Jeez. Nils says Pathfinder 2 is playable at level 20, unlike 5th edition. What other evidence do you need? I mean, you know, the interesting thing is, I'm gonna tell you what, you guys. I'm at my 5th edition game right now that I'm running is literally, well, they're not quite at level 20, they're level 18, but they just completed an adventure which will take them to level 20. They have 2 levels banked because they didn't want to take time to level up because there was urgent stuff to get done. So they stopped at 18, banked 2 levels, and they're about to take level 20. And I'm gonna tell you what, man, high level play has just, in 5th edition, has just reminded me of like, I mean, I can mostly make it work most of the time just because I have a lot of experience with the game system and as a game master. But there's a whole lot of me running 5th edition D&D at high levels that is basically just hoping and praying that my players are, one, like understanding enough not to try to attempt some of the broken stuff that is out there that they could otherwise do, and that they don't try to do that stuff. And I mean, that's mostly what it is. And then if something does happen, I can rely on my experience and judgment and stuff and try to fix it on the fly, basically, you know. So, and some stuff still comes out of like left field, and then I'm like, you know, I had a player cast Forbiddance for the first time, and I never had to deal before with a player putting forbiddance down and then having it affect an entire level of the dungeon and kill everything. And I was like, that threw me for a loop. And I was like, oh my gosh, this whole dungeon I designed is gone now. Like, they just cakewalked it, and then nothing is to prevent him from doing that every single dungeon. And so I'm like it happened in one session, and then afterwards I'm like, I gotta figure out what's going on here. This forbidden spell is insane. And then I was doing a bunch of reading on Reddit and other posts and crap, and then finally, I came to what I finally decided is that, look, it forbiddance, literally you have to sprinkle incense, as part of the spell when you're casting it. And so my ruling is that whatever area you're casting forbiddance on, you have to walk about as you're sprinkling the incense. So if you want to put forbiddance on the entire dungeon level, you need to walk through the entire dungeon level over the course of the 10 minutes or whatever, sprinkling the incense. And if you've already cleared the dungeon, not a problem, go ahead and do it. But if you haven't cleared the dungeon, well, then you can't really cast the spell on the whole dungeon. So that's the way I ended up ruling that. Otherwise, I would have literally just had a cleric just casting forbiddance in every dungeon and just clearing everything out, because we're a high level and almost everything is like a fiend or all the different things that are affected by it. You know what I mean? And so that threw me for a left loop. And I'm sure that there'll be other things that just kind of like hit me, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. And that's not even a high level spell. That's a level 6 spell, you guys. So anyway, there's just I was like, my prayer, is like, when they release 6th edition D&D, they fix some of these things. Maybe. But I think they're way behind schedule. I think they are so crazy behind schedule with the release of 6th edition D&D, because you had the OGL and the scrambling from that, and now they just fired a whole bunch of people. Who knows, like, well, you would think that whatever's being published for 6th edition is already finished and finalized, right? Like, they can't continue to design this thing. They've got to start laying it out in books for like printing and stuff, right? You would think. So I don't know, but hopefully they fix some of that stuff. But I don't even know, man. They're so behind schedule. And then Hasbro's in like a financial whirlspin. Hasbro's just like, they're like circling the toilet right now financially, and Magic and Wizards of the Coast, Magic, and D&D are propping up all of the other divisions of Hasbro that are sucking it up and losing money left and right. And so then you have Hasbro executives who are just, trying to milk Wizards of the Coast dry for every penny that they can get out of it. Magic the Gathering, they're just printing more and more cards and different types of cards and different foil packs. And I don't follow it a whole lot, but it's clearly a money grab. And now they're doing stuff like that with D&D, just trying to like get all the money they can, because all of their other products, all of the other stuff in Hasbro is just tanking, and so they're trying to milk Wizards of the Coast, brands for everything they can to support up everything else in the company. And so it's just kind of like, and so you got to wonder, what's D&D's 6th edition gonna be like with all of that going on? It makes you wonder, are they gonna fix the things that we want them to fix, hopefully make Dungeon Master lives easier? Is that going to happen, or are we just going to get some crap that they threw out there because you gotta sell something to make some money, so we're just going to throw it out there? I don't know, man. I hope it's good, right? And I hope it actually is compatible with 5th edition like they've been promising us, but they've promised us lots of other things before that they didn't really come through with. So but that's your hope, right? They're gonna have a Pinkerton class? They should totally have a Pinkerton class. Oh, wasn't that I played 5th edition for 3 years. It's not rules light at all. It's a mess of a system that can't work by itself without tinkering and third-party resources. Yeah, 5th edition is I think it's easy-ish for players to pick up, but it is not easy for a game master. I have found that once you get past learning the rules of Pathfinder 2, which are more complex than 5th edition D&D, but once you get past the actual learning of the rules, Pathfinder 2 is way easier for me to game master right now. Now we're still in low levels, so check back after a year or so to see how I still feel. But right now, game mastering Pathfinder 2 is way easier ever than game mastering 5th edition. And like I don't have to have any of these like rules discussions about what something actually means. It's in the stinking book and it tells me what to do most of the time. Sometimes I have a question or something, but it's usually based upon my inexperience and not necessarily because there's like an oversight in the rules. So I can, so you might say that Pathfinder 2 is more complex as a game system than D&D 5th edition, but it's not terribly more complex. And once you learn how to play it, man, it's way easier for a game master, dude, than D&D 5th edition. So, and one of the interesting thing is that one of the things my players like about Pathfinder 2 is that, and they all came from 5th edition with me, is that the character design and stuff, they like the fact that they have way more options for designing their characters and stuff, and they can really dig into it. So that's one of the things they liked. And the interesting thing is that one of my players, Alex, is it Alex or Kevin? Hold on a second, I have two players, Kevin and Alex. It's Alex. I always get them confused. I literally call them by the wrong name sometimes. Alex prefers rules light systems, but he is really liking Pathfinder 2. So there you go. He actually told me, he's like, I like Pathfinder 2 better than D&D 5th edition after one of our game sessions, which I thought was really interesting because of all of our players, I thought he was the one most likely to not like Pathfinder 2 because he prefers rules light systems. Oh, go figure. All right, we should probably get back to some questions here. Whee! How can you be a good DM your family members when they don't know nothing about D&D? You just try to play a game with them and explain things to them and help them to learn. That's all you do. Tell them the basics of the game. They don't have to teach them all the rules, but just say, hey, you're a player. You're just you are playing a character in this game world. I'm going to describe something to you, a situation. You just tell me what your character does. That's as easy as that. It's as easy as that. If your character says something, tell me what they say. If they act, if they attack, if they want to move here or climb a tree and jump off from it, you just tell me that. It's as simple as that. And then you as the game master, when they want to do something, if there is a roll involved, you'll say, okay, this requires a roll. I want you to roll a d20. Probably have to tell them which one is the d20. Roll that d20, and then on your sheet, right there is your athletics modifier. Roll a d20 and add that number to it. The athletics modifier, and that final result is going to determine how well you climb that tree. It's really just as simple as that. Try to simplify it, make it as easy as possible, and get them into the game and enjoy the action. Don't spend too much time explaining all the intricate rules. They will probably not come back, or even they'll probably just skip the session and be like, I'm out, dude. You got to get them in quickly playing the game as quickly as possible so they can experience the fun of it, And then as they have fun playing the game, even if they don't understand all the rules, then maybe they'll start to like take more interest in learning the rules. Maybe not, because I had one player who she like, how long did we play? I think we played for over a year. She never learned the rules. Every game session, it was like, how do I make an attack roll? How do I do damage? How do I use my thieves tools? So I'm like, I'm a patient dude and stuff, but we've been playing for a year, like every week, almost every week. So, so there's no guarantee they'll learn the rules, but most probably will if they enjoy doing it. How do you deal with a player who is playing in a pod of mostly first timers, but they are metagaming and backseat DMing? It is starting to discourage some players from D&D. What should I do? You should take that player aside and talk to them. Explain to them like what you've observed that they're doing. Explain to them the effect that it's having on you, the effect that it's having on the other players. Try to have a conversation with them. Sometimes they might not realize what they're doing, and they'll be like, "Oh, dude, I'm so sorry," or just simply explaining and talking with them, they might just back off and chill out. You know what I mean? But you got to talk to them. You You can't resolve anything by doing nothing. Talk to them. Explain things, how people are feeling and whatnot, and then and then there needs to be the request that they, stop doing certain types of behavior for the benefit of the overall game. So that needs to be part of that conversation as well. And then hopefully they'll understand, and you can get a commitment from them that they will stop doing this undesirable behavior. And then you go back to your game, and hopefully they follow through with their commitment and they don't continue doing the things that are disrupting your game. And then things get better. That is the happy path, right? And if the unhappy path is you talk to them and they blow up and they have a fit and they don't and they're gonna fight with you and stuff, well then, if I were, what would Luke do? if I had a player with undesirable behavior that was affecting the group, the enjoyability of the game, and other players' enjoyability of the game especially, and I pulled them aside to talk to them about something very simple, and they were not receptive to the feedback, and I was getting the vibe that they would continue doing that behavior, then I'm probably gonna, I might even just make a decision right there in that moment to just tell them, hey, if this is not gonna work for you, then it's not gonna work for me, and it's probably better that you just don't come back to this group. I might make the call right then and there, if they're completely unreceptive to the feedback, and whatever their problematic behavior is a game breaker, because there is some problematic behavior in the game that is not cause to remove somebody from the game, right? Like if somebody's doing some mild metagaming, that doesn't bother me, if somebody from time to time, maybe argues a little bit about a rule, it doesn't bother me a whole lot. So there's probably some stuff that it's like, it's not cause for removing somebody. You might still talk to them about it to see if it improves, but it's not a reason to take them out of the game. But if it's something that is cause for removal from the game because it's bad enough and it's affecting the group and the game and everything enough, right? Then you might just say, well, then we'll just, after talking to them, if you can see that they're not receptive to changing and they don't want to change and stuff, then you might just be like, all right, cool, we're done. Or, you might go back to the group. They might even say, yeah, okay, it's cool, I'm going to change. And you go back to play the game, and then all of a sudden they're doing the same thing again, and then you're like, okay, I guess you didn't change, and then you got to make more decisions and stuff. So, but everything starts with talking. Classy Penguin says, why can't I stop obsessing over D&D? Because it's a fun game, yo. It's a fun game. It's why, it's tons of fun. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just don't let it interfere with, things in life that, are important. Like, I don't know if you're in school or you got a job or something, you got a family, make sure you get your priorities first, right? D&D is just a game, for most of us. Like some of us, it's our job, but for most of us it's a game. Make sure your priorities are straight, because I'll tell you, I spent a lot of my life playing video games. I worked, I took care of financial responsibilities and worked, right? But I neglected other things in my life because I played video games too much, and now I look back on all those years where I was playing this video game and it was fun, but I have nothing to show for it except for I neglected certain things in my life that were very important, and I can never make up for that. So think about that, make sure that you're not neglecting other really important things in your life for a game. Because then you're gonna 10 years later down the road, you might regret it, and there's not a thing you can do about it. You neglect your family, neglect like your kids or something, or your husband or your wife or something, and then you can't. What are you gonna do 10 years from now when like crap falls apart? So think about that. But it is a fun game. I agree. How much am I supposed to talk as a DM? As little as possible. Or only as much as you need to. Many of, I don't know. I don't really pay attention to how much I actually talk in my games, but I can tell you that I do lots of listening in my games. Listening to my players, listening to their chatter, what they want to do and stuff. And I'm going to describe something or I'll adjudicate something when I need to. But I definitely don't try to hog table time and talking too much. So I think a good game master keeps the amount of talking that they do to what's necessary, what's absolutely necessary. You're there to facilitate the game, run the game, and stuff, but you're not there to be the center of attention. That's not your purpose as a game master, you know. And so if you're trying to be that center of attention, then I don't know, I have a feeling that that is going to negatively impact the game. So do I need loot and lore to run Lairs and Legends as a module? I don't think so. I'm trying to think back because it's been a while since we did that project, but I am pretty sure that we made Lairs and Legends completely self-contained. Like, it has the adventures, and then all the monsters are in that same book, and then any magic items that are in those adventures we put in a glossary an appendix at the end. So I'm pretty sure that everything is self-contained in Lairs and Legends, and everything is self-contained in Loot and Lore as well, for both of those, for that particular product. Now we are planning on launching Lairs and Legends 2 in 2024. In April is the current plan. That'll come out in Kickstarter, probably in April 2024. Now for Lairs and Legends 2, it's different. Because of how much content there is and stuff, it's still going to be in 2 books, but there's no way for us to make it self-contained. It's going to be sold. It's going to be sold as 2 books: Lairs and Legends 2, Loot and Lore 2, and you know, there's going to be tons of new monsters in the adventures, and you're going to have both books. It's just, there's no way for us to package that product so you just get one book and call it a day. Besides which, what we've noticed doing our Kickstarters and our store sales is that 95% or more of all of our customers buy both books. So we're just like, you know what? We're going to stop hitting our head against a wall trying to make them self-contained and just accept that almost everybody buys both of them anyway. So we'll just make our lives easier and just, you know, it's hard to get 700 plus pages of content. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, you get my point. Okay, reminder that we are doing a giveaway today, ladies and gentlemen. Who pushed my camera? My cat pushed my camera. We have a giveaway going on. You can get DM Lair store credit, where we have Lairs and Legends. I think we're out. We might be out of physical copies. I think we're out of hardcovers. We have Lairs and Legends. We have Loot and Lore, Into the Fae, Adventure Modules, 5th edition, and Pathfinder 2 stuff. Lair Magazine obviously is over there. So we're giving away store credit. Join the giveaway. There's a link in the chat. Thank you, Freight Train, where you can jump in on that. Also, we are raising money for All God's Children. They are a non-profit charity. I'm going to go show you their webpage. Wait, that's the wrong one. I have the interview. I have the screen with my interview with Mark Seifter still up here. Let's go down here. Get that out of our way. Whee! All right, so these guys are, they help children, basically, to put it in a nutshell. They help lots of orphans, kids who live in institutions, basically. They help with their education, food, clothing, all that sorts of stuff. They help with adoptions too, international adoptions. So we're raising money for them right now. If you want to help us to raise, our goal is $500. We're already at $100. Thank you, Effa, for the $100 tip. I appreciate that. There's a little bar at the bottom of the screen where you can see our current progress toward our goal. And you can help support All God's Children by just throwing in a tip of whatever you want. And then once we have $500, we make a donation to them. And what was I going to say? In the link in the chat, you can read more about All God's Children if you want to. I have a link to their site in there, so you can go over there and see what they're all about and stuff like that. Also, there is a thing where you can just directly sponsor a child if you want to. A lot of these children are from like developing countries and stuff, is where these guys help. They also help with human trafficking, which I think is really cool. So they're a very cool organization. And then they do education support, international adoptions and stuff like that. So it's very cool. You can donate directly to them if you don't want to tip and give me the money. You know, if you just want to go directly to them, that's cool too. So anyway, we're raising money for them because they're doing very awesome stuff in our world. All right, and let's go back to the screen. Do you think it's a bad idea to have a former dungeon master as a player in your game? What problems might follow? I don't think it's a bad idea. I am currently running a 5th edition game, and I'm pretty sure that every single player, except for one, is a game master, and some of them are probably the forever DMs that like they never get to actually play the game, except that I think that being a full-time game master is way more interesting and a better way to play the game than being a player. I get bored out of my mind when I'm a player. But anyway, many of them have, some of them at least, have said that, you know, they never get to play the game. And so I know they're game masters, right? And I don't have any problems with them at all. Like, all of the players in that game are awesome. And the interesting thing is that, at least for me, when I am a player in a game, because I'm also a game master, I know some of the things to avoid doing and to do to help make that game better for everybody. For instance, I try to be careful not to monopolize table time and talk too much and let other players have their own turns to play the game. You know, I make sure that I'm paying attention when we're in combat. I don't want combat to bog down, and so like I figure out what my character is going to do before it's my turn, so I can just quickly state what I'm going to do, and I'm not sitting there looking up a spell and wasting everybody's time because I can't decide what I'm going to do. So like I have found that my experience as a game master has helped me probably to be a better player than otherwise. And I have found that in my games, other game masters usually are pretty good players. I don't know that I've specifically had a problem from a player because they were a game master. Now, I might have had players who were game masters who caused problems for other reasons, but I don't think it was because they were a game master. I don't think that's a big deal. You know, I feel like there's a chance that you're gonna have a game master who's like probably gonna turn their nose up at you and be like, you're running this game poorly, I would do a better job, and you should change this, and this. But you know, I don't know. I feel like that's probably not gonna be the majority of time. Now, if you ask them for feedback, they might tell you some feedback. Like I'm a player in lots of games, and I never tell the game master, like, if they were doing things that I think were not good or suboptimal or could be improved, I never tell them that unless they ask me. And nobody's ever asked me, so I just don't say anything, you know? So I don't know. I think you're fine, dude. I don't see any problems with it. Max, Merry Christmas, dude. Thank you, man. You can't wait for your books? Which books are you waiting? Oh, The Secret Art of Game Mastery. Those are getting so close. Do you want to see? I'll show you some of the crap I got. Oh. Okay, so the printer sends me like samples and crap. So these are not the actual books, but this is like what they send me so that I can review it and approve it. This is like the cover, you know, and spine and the backside, and then the pages in here. I'm not going to open up everything, but they send me this stuff so I can like review it, you know. And I have this as the Secret Art of Game Mastery one, and then this is Secret Art of Preparation, and it's got the interior pages and crap in there. And then Secret Art of Note Taking. And then, oh, I have this slipcase here. Hold on. This slipcase isn't, it's not the final one. There's printing and stuff on here. We have on the spine of the slipcase, we have like project name, Secret Art of Game Mastery, and my logo down here. But this was just one of the early samples. And then this one actually has, these are the covers. This is the leather cover for the Secret Art of Game Mastery right here. Now there's nothing inside of it, and the inside won't just be cardboard. It'll be all of it will be covered with leather. You know, this is just like a proof to show me what it would look like. But no, and then you got spine and stuff. You know, so it's embossed. And then it's got silver foil, you know, and there's your spine and stuff. So, and then they all go in the same slipcase. Well, this doesn't have the flute. There's a flute that comes with it, so they are all level. But basically, then you have, you know, they all sit in there like that. That's what it'll look like. Mostly look like when it gets done. So, there you go. Here's your preview. We're close so this is where we're at right now. They have, the print runs are done. The interiors have been printed, and they've made the covers, and the next step really is to attach the interiors to the covers. There's probably a technical term for that I don't know what it's called, but that's the stage we're at. And for them to do that though, we are waiting on one update to one of our covers, and then they're going to be able to like bind everything together. I think binding is the word. They'll be able to bind everything together and make it look all nice. And yes, that's right. Okay, they'll bind everything together, make it look all nice and pretty and stuff like that. And the Game Master screen is getting close to. I'm waiting on a proof for that. So everything's going well. So anyway, there you go. There's your update. I want to put this stuff back because it's in my way. Oh, Max is ready to start your third game for newbies only. Cool. Awesome, man. All right. I've been playing D&D for 4 years as set DM. I don't know what that means. Set DM part. Only run pre-made campaigns so far. I want to make my first campaign. What advice do you have, and what is most important in campaign creation? So I have a couple older videos on my channel called Campaign Creation. Literally Campaign Creation Part 1 and Campaign Creation Part 2 that has some useful information in it. So you might go check those out. But I think when you're creating a campaign, you want to like think about what the premise of your campaign is, what the overall conflict is, who the bad guys are, and what they're trying to do in the game world, and how that intersects with the characters and causes a problem in the game world. Remember, the job of a game master is to introduce conflict, drama, problems that need to be resolved. Like, that's what you do. If there are no problems, if there's no conflict, there's no game to play. And so that's what you're doing. So you want a bad guy, you want a conflict, you wanted to know what they're trying to achieve, what their goals are, and why that causes a problem in your game world. And so you wanted to develop this premise, right? And figure out who the bad guys are going to be, who the big bad is, and all this type of stuff. And what you want to do is you really want to get this idea, something that's cool and motivates you, that you think is really cool, but then you want to pitch it to your players. You ideally, and this isn't a session 0 in my opinion. The campaign pitch I would do as an email to my players. I would say, hey guys, this is what I'm thinking. This is literally what I did for my Pathfinder 2 game, Thieves Abound. I sent them all an email. It's like, hey guys, we're going to start up. We'd already decided that we were going to play Pathfinder 2 after our Curse of Strahd campaign ended. And so I said, hey guys, this is what I was thinking for our Pathfinder 2 campaign. And then I gave them my pitch. I explained what the premise was, what the overall premise was, without any spoilers for them, and what they would be doing and stuff. Where it's set in Eberron, and then there are holds, and this is kind of what's going on and stuff. And you would be agents of House Kundarak and da. And I told them, there's the one restriction on character creation is you cannot be a dwarf, because House Kundarak intentionally, specifically does not want any dwarven agents for this particular job. And there were reasons and stuff. And I gave them the pitch, and then my players were all like, yeah, that sounds cool, good to go. And that's great, because that's what you want. You want to get excited about the campaign that you're going to run and the driving premise of it, and then you want to pitch it to your players, and you're looking for buy-in from them, where they say, yes, that sounds like fun, let's do it. And then at that point, you go off and you start planning some little bit more of the ideas around it. You don't plan out every single adventure, but you might have a general idea of the things that might possibly happen, what the bad guys are going to do. You might have an idea of some of the, at a very high level, what adventures the players might go on, perhaps, on the campaign. And we are assuming, we are making the assumption that you have players who are going to cooperate with the game master, in so much that, if you pitch a campaign premise and they agree to play that campaign, and then you drop plot hooks for adventures and stuff, that they're actually going to go do those things. We're making that general assumption. If you have players who just ignore what your plot hooks and go off and just do random crap, well, then you might as well not even give a planned campaign pitch. Just throw them in the game world and let them do random crap, I suppose. I don't know. I would never run a game like that unless it were an evil campaign and my players gave me information in advance about what they were going to do, and then I designed adventures for that, or we were doing West Marches or something. But anyway, players who don't respect that type of thing I don't know. Anyway, I've never really run into players like that before, but there are stories about them, I suppose, out there. So anyway, if you have players like that, then everything I just said is pretty much worthless. And it's just a crapshoot, I suppose. But give them a pitch, plan some stuff out, and then your session 0 is going to be probably character creation, and then you start running the first adventure, and then you'll plan out the first adventure, and then then you just go from there. So I don't know. That's how I would approach it. I think that answered the question. I don't even remember what the question was. I just found out about Layers and Legends, and I'm thinking on buying it next month. Any way to make it into VTT for Foundry, extra payment, or a tool that just scrolled on me, or a tool that I don't know of. I have no idea of. I mean, if you buy Layers and Legends off from the DM Lair store, you're going to get all of the digital maps that you need to run the game. So there is no Foundry version of it. But what you can do is just import the maps, throw some tokens down on the GM layer, or have their visibility set to hidden from the players, however you do it in Foundry. And then don't use dynamic lighting, just use the normal fog of war and then reveal parts of it. It's not that hard. I used to use dynamic lighting in my games, and then that got old, putting all the walls down and stupid bullcrap. And then I went to fog of war, and the gameplay is still tons of fun. Oh no, players have actually said that it's better without the stupid dynamic lighting and just having normal fog of war. So I don't think it's that much effort to just throw a map into Foundry and throw some tokens down and stuff, if that's the way you want to do it. I don't know if there's tools that automate that for you. I suspect there probably aren't, but I could be wrong. How do you feel about virtual tabletops? I know in person may be better. No, in person is better. Is 100% more fun. Like the biggest thing that you I think you miss out on a couple things with virtual tabletops. First of all is the atmosphere. There is a almost palpable atmosphere feeling of being in person and playing the game. It cannot be replicated online. It can't. There's just something about being in the same room with other players and playing the game, the camaraderie, the atmosphere, the relationships you develop, the friendship. There's just something about that you cannot replicate playing online. And that makes it so much more fun. You can have the exact same game, the exact same campaign, the same adventures, the same characters. It's just more fun in person. It just is. It just is. What was the rest of the question? How do I feel about virtual tabletops? But at the same time, virtual tabletops obviously have their place because, you and your friends might not live in the same city, and the only way you can play is on a virtual tabletop. Or you might live out in the middle of nowhere in a small town, and nobody wants to play that game with you, and so you play online. Or you might live in I don't know, a country that doesn't really speak a whole bunch of English or something, and you just gotta play online. I don't know. There's lots of different cases where playing online might be your only or your best option. And so I think it serves a purpose, right? And, finding a game is probably super easy online because it doesn't matter where you are. You can always just play, but you might have a more difficulty finding a game in a local to you where you can actually play in person. So I think there are the pros and cons of each, but if you can play in person, play in person. My gosh, it's so much more fun. So much more fun. In person comes with snacks. Yeah. I mean, I snack when I'm playing online too. how can I make dungeons more interesting than just slaying enemies, avoiding traps, and getting loot? So I think part of the thing for setting up a good dungeon is you want there to be, think about ways you can introduce quirks or twists. You might be able to think of them that way. For instance, I literally today just got done writing one of the adventures for Escape from the Fae, and which is the sequel to Into the Fae. And for this adventure, there's this underwater grotto that the players have to go to, and there's a bad guy down there. But their ultimate goal is to retrieve a special artifact. And I was like, okay, what can I? So like most of the times, you're gonna set up this grotto, and there's bad guys in there. And then, you know, the players are just going to be like, all right, we go down there, we just start killing stuff, and then we disable traps, and we get the artifact, and we leave. Woo! But I didn't want that. I wanted something unique to that, right? Something different to that. And so I'm like, okay, let's do a thing where let's build into this adventure a way for there to be a completely, totally non-combat solution, right? A different way to solve this than just killing everything. And so for this particular adventure, that's what I wanted to do. And so the bad guy is a sea serpent and called the Marsh Fang. And he has a bunch of swamp siren cronies that like work for him or his allies or whatever. But the thing is that the Marsh Fang has been sleeping for a long time now. And the swamp sirens, their loyalty is beginning to waver. And so when the players arrive, there is a mechanism in there whereby they can essentially converse with the swamp sirens, and there's a couple swamp sirens in particular that can help them in certain ways that will allow them to get to the Marsh Fang without waking him up, and then extract the artifact. It's actually a scale on his breast that they have to pull off. Extract the artifact and get out of there. Completely non-combat solution. And so, but the thing is that I intentionally built that into the adventure, right? And so that's just one example. You know, there are other things you can do in your adventures to try to make them different than a normal adventure. You might run a heist or a raid instead of your normal adventure. When I'm writing Escape from the Fae, one of the things that I'm trying to make sure that I do for every single one of the adventures that I write is I want there to be a non-standard way of solving the adventure. Now it doesn't mean that, so for instance, if you say well, every adventure has a non-combat solution, well then that gets ordinary too, right? And so I'm trying to have a different thing for every adventure that differentiates it from your standard go into the dungeon and kill stuff to get the reward, you know. And so the trick is to think of quirks. I call them quirks that you can put into your adventures to make them a little different, you know, and unique for your players. That's something you can do. John the Vampire, thank you for the super chat. I had a couple. Oh, I missed another super chat. Thank you, John the Vampire. And then Robert, also thank you for the super chat. Robert's super chat was first. Let's hit his. Have you played a samurai character? No, sorry, have not. And then John the Vampire, any suggestions for running Curse of Strahd for new players? I think probably if I were running Curse of Strahd for new players, I don't think that I would do anything different for new players than I would for I had veteran players when I ran it. I think the only thing that I would change is that with my veteran players, I gave them tons of plot hooks, like for lots of the different places in the module. I was like, oh, this, you can do this and this and this and this. And it was an ongoing joke in our game. They were like, well, we have all of these options of things we could do. We have like 8 of them. Which one are we going to do next? You know, and this is something I try to do in my games. To make them less linear, I like to give my players a variety of plot hooks, different things they might do, so they feel like they have choice, right? And they can pick the one that most interests them. And so for Curse of Strahd, I was leaning into this, and they had a list of stuff they could do. including go to Castle Ravenloft, like at level 1 or 2. And they're like, but my veteran players are like, we're smarter than that. We know that you don't go to Castle Ravenloft at level 2. Now, new players may not know that. And so I think that I would, if I were running Curse of Strahd for new players, that one of the big differences is that I would be much more selective about which plot hooks I give them. I might still give them a couple choices or something, but I would make sure that I'm not giving them a plot hook that's going to take them somewhere where they're just going to like be completely overwhelmed, because that would just not be cool. Now, if they decide to go someplace and I wasn't giving them a plot hook, well, that's kind of on them if they just wander off into trouble. But I don't want to be the one dropping a plot hook, because my veteran players know that Luke gave us that plot hook, but we're not stupid enough to fall for that. New players, you don't know, so I would change that for sure. The module is not particularly challenging or deadly. It's actually kind of a pushover. I had to beef that module up big time to even moderately challenge my players, and it still wasn't a challenge for them. So I think new players, I would probably not change anything in it. I think it won't be, except for Death House. Death House is crazy. Like, if you run Death House, they'll probably all die. I think that's probably the exception. I remember Death House being brutal, because it's a level 1 and 2 adventure, and most RPGs have a really hard time, you know, keeping things balanced at low levels. So it's very swingy. So Death House is brutal, but barring that, I don't know. For me, it was a pushover. Nothing was challenging, but but the interesting thing is that is probably just part of the power creep that is in 5th edition D&D, whereby, you know, they keep releasing new content that slowly increases the power of characters because they want to sell books, and power sells. It does. It's proven. It's proven. You know, I got this mobile game that I've been playing every so, you know, I'll play it during the day when I'm like, take the dog out or something or whatever. And like, everything they're selling me on that game, I haven't paid anything yet for it. It's free at this point, but everything they're trying to sell me is giving me more power, helping me become, it's a spaceship battle game. And you know, it's tempting because I'm just like, oh, I could get a better spaceship, you know, get more gems and stuff. So power sells. She's loud. Is it usually a good idea to try to base a campaign around a pre-made story? I'm considering a Lord of the Rings style campaign. How would you go about this sort of thing? I think I mean, I'm not gonna explain all the intricacies of that, because that's just campaign creation. You're just creating campaign. Basic campaign around so that's one way to do it, right? Like, you could, I wouldn't call it a story. Like, I would never try to copy a story and make it into a campaign. So for instance, right now I'm reading the Mistborn series by Brandon Sanderson, and I would never try to like be like, okay, this is the plot of this series of books. I'm gonna turn it into a campaign, and my players are gonna play out the events from the Mistborn series as they, like, you know, do all of these things. Like, I would never try to create a campaign that tried to follow a pre-written story like that, because that's just stupid. You know, it's not a game at that point, and you're gonna have to totally be manipulating everything behind the scenes to make sure that the story plays out the way it's supposed to play out. So I would never do that. Now, you might take that idea, you might take an idea from a pre-written story and be like, this is a really cool premise, you know, there's this like overlord, and like they want to free the world from his rule. Okay, I mean, that's not a novel idea, but okay, we could do that, and then implement it in such a way that it is a game where there's no fixed ending and there's no fixed path of how to do that. We're not following a pre-written story, we're just creating a premise, a situation, and then we're gonna see how things play out based upon character choices and actions and what the villains do and dice rolls and stuff. Well, then you're actually playing a game. and that's a totally different story. And then to do that, well, that's just campaign creation 101. That's just how you create any campaign. And I have a couple of videos that talk about how to create a campaign on my channel too that you can check out. So at that point, you're just making a normal campaign. But I would not. You can definitely have a premise or a situation or scenario you set up your campaign with. In fact, most campaigns do that. You can also just have you can play some sort of sandbox where there is no premise and it's just a game world to be explored, and then the players make their own goals and go off and do their own things, and they might find bad guys at work and they might decide to stop them or not, or help them, or who knows, and then you're talking very much more of a sandbox or even a West Marches or some sort of campaign. So there are other ways to do it, obviously. Yeah, Mistborn is cool. I'm enjoying it so far. I'm about a third into the first book or so. Are any of the 5e rule sets on the DM Lair shop compatible with Pathfinder 2nd edition? Not out of the box. Not out of the box. Most of our 5th edition rule sets that we develop are designed to fill a gap in the existing 5th edition mechanics. For instance, we made a mass combat system. A lightweight mass combat system that is not 300 pages long. So, because that's just, nobody's going to use that. Good luck getting your players to learn a tack-on system for D&D that's like 300 pages long. They're never going to learn it. And you're going to use it once, and then you're not going to use it for several months, and you're all going to forget how it worked, and you're going to have to relearn it every time you want to do mass combat. It's not how to do that. So, but that's, I digress. But my point is that every time my team and I were like, all right, we're gonna make this rule set for 5th edition. Cool. Well, 5th edition has this problem. We're gonna fix it with this rule set. Awesome. Can we make a rule set like that for Pathfinder 2? No, we can't, because they already fixed the problem. Doesn't exist. They already thought of it. Okay. And so the answer is no. Our rule sets are for 5th edition. And Pathfinder 2 has generally already made those solutions out of the box. It's like I said at the very beginning of the stream, Pathfinder 2 game designers were pretty dang smart, and they did a really good job. So, yeah, what are you gonna do? What do you think about making low magic campaign for new D&D players? I would say I'm neutral on that idea. I think they could probably have a lot of fun doing it, and they might not have fun doing it. I don't know, but I don't think it's either good nor bad. I think you want to try to set expectations, and you might want to see what your players' expectations are coming into the game. If you have players that are like, oh, we've heard about D&D, and there's all this cool magic and stuff and magic items, and oh my gosh, I want to be a wizard and I want to blow crap up, and lots of your players that's their line of thinking, and that's their conception of the game, and that's what they want to do, and that's what excites them about the game. Well, if that's the case, then you might be like, well, if my players all are really excited about magic, then maybe a low magic campaign is not going to be the thing for them, right? So you'll want to know what your players are expecting too. And if they don't really have any expectations, well, then you can start to cultivate and plant the seeds of expectations, and say, well, I was thinking about, D&D is a game system that, sometimes you run games that don't have a lot of magic, and I was thinking about something like that. But you can do that, but the thing is that out of the box, 5th edition is not low magic. None of the editions of D&D are low magic. So you're going to have to put some house rules in place or tweak things to kind of implement that, and you'll just have to figure out what that means. So, but that's on you, right? That has nothing to do with your players stuff. So. All right. Did you back X Kickstarter? No, probably not. I haven't backed any Kickstarters recently. I keep on backing Kickstarters, and I never use the stuff that I get. I have a couple things on my shelf back there that I just don't use, and so I'm just like, I'm gonna stop. And the other thing that I'm running into is I'm running out of space to put all the stuff I'm getting. I don't have it, so I'm like gonna put it in a box. I'm gonna buy something that I'm not gonna use, and I'm gonna put it in a box. So, yeah, I'm getting to the point on my Kickstarters where I only back things that I think that I'm actually going to use. Like, I'll buy more monsters. If Cobalt Press does like a Tome of Beasts 4, I will definitely buy that. All right, looking for more questions. My players are absolutely terrified of the possibility of their characters dying to the point they can abandon the campaign. What do I do about it instead of intentionally going easy on them? I mean, I would want to know why they're terrified of their characters dying. Like, what is the root of that fear? Are they afraid of their characters dying because they think that's the end of the game and they can never play again? Do they not understand that they can just create new characters? Are they afraid because they think they really like the campaign, the adventures and stuff and the premise, and they're afraid that if they die they'll have to start over and like at level 1 maybe, and they don't want to lose their progress? Or they're afraid that they won't be able to finish that campaign out and they'll have to do something different and they don't know how things end. Like, I would want to know why they're afraid, you know, of dying so much. I'm entering a stage right now where I'm going to be coughing for a while because my throat has decided it wants to cough. So I would talk with your players, try to figure out why they're so afraid of dying, and see what the cause of that fear is. And then if there is a way to alleviate that fear, you know, then that might make it better. For instance, you know, oh, well, we don't want to restart at level 1, man. We're level 4 and we've worked so hard to get here, and having to die and make a new character at level 1 sucks. I can solve that in 2 seconds. If you die, you make a new character at the level you're currently at. Oh, really? Yeah, dude. And then you... Oh. But what about the campaign? We're going to have to start a new one. No. If you die, you just make a new character at your current level. You keep on playing the same campaign. Oh, okay. Cool. Well, I'm really attached. I love my character, you know? Like, it's a really cool character. You know? It's like, well, okay, if you die, just make another character. You're going to like it probably too. You know, and if you really, I literally had I had a player ask me this. They were like, I forget what he said, but he basically was like, I really like my character. This was my Pathfinder 2 game. He was like, I really like my character. I like my character, and if my character dies, which is possible because we've had a bit of death in our Pathfinder 2 game. If my character dies, could I just create another character that's basically a carbon copy of it? Would that be a problem? And I was like, I don't care, dude. I just don't care. If that's what you want to play and your character dies and you have to make a new one, you could just be a carbon copy, make a few changes, change the name or something. I don't know, maybe the backstory. I don't know. But like, it didn't bother me. You know, some people will get upset about that and be like, but I don't care. So you can do, there's stuff you can do, you know, but going easy on them, I can't run a game like that. I just can't, you know. I wouldn't enjoy that. There's no, and I know too that like when there's no possibility of death, things just aren't that exciting. So if I had players that were terrified of death and they would abandon quests and adventures and they were afraid to do things, I feel like I would have to try to work on that to see if we can overcome that fear to actually play the game. Because if they can't overcome that fear, and I don't think I would find that game enjoyable, because and I don't know that I could run a game for a group like that. I just don't, because I think at that point you just have there's like a disconnect on some fundamental level of game expectations and gameplay expectations, you know, and I just wouldn't find that enjoyable. So I'm not saying they're wrong for not wanting their characters to die necessarily, you know, they probably have their reasons. I just don't think that I could run a game where death is not a possibility. I think as a game master, I would just be like, this game sucks, this is stupid. I wouldn't enjoy that, you know. And the same is true if I were a player. I would, if I were in a game where I knew that nobody could die because the game master was making sure that nobody died, I would drop the game. I'd be like, I'm done. This game is stupid, man. My actions don't matter. You're taking away my agency. My decisions and choices don't matter at all. It's not actually a game. You know, I would find that so deeply unsatisfying. I would quit the game, you know, if I knew that that was happening. Sometimes it's not always super transparent, but or obvious. In Pathfinder 2nd Edition, what is the best way to remember to hand out hero points and not make it overpowered and giving too many? Okay, so this is what I literally do in my Pathfinder 2 game, because I'm horrible at giving out hero points or inspiration, whatever way you want to do it. We literally have a thing in my Pathfinder 2 game where everybody starts the game out with 1 hero point, right? That's the rules. You get 1 hero point, right? You start the game that way. And then what I do is we start playing at 4 p.m. and I have the coffee automatically brews itself at 6 p.m. And then I have an alarm on my phone that will go off to let me know, to remind the players, hey guys, the coffee's done. So the rule is that at 6 p.m. when the coffee alarm goes off, all of my players get another hero point. There you go. Because supposedly, if I remember correctly, and we discussed this as a group, and this is why we came up with this solution, you're supposed to, in the average game session, you're supposed to give out, I think is what it said, 1 hero point per player, roughly, or something like that. Or it was like every hour you give out a hero point or something. I forget exactly what it said, but we talked it out and we're like, okay, this is easy. You know, you start the game with 1 hero point, and then at the coffee alarm, everybody gets 1 more hero point, and everything kind of works itself out. You know, that way we make sure you're getting the number of hero points you're kind of supposed to get. You know, Luke doesn't have to remember to give you the hero points because I won't, you know, and then you guys will get screwed. So that's the system we came up with, and it works very well, and we don't have to think about it. Because I will forget. If I have to try to remember, I will forget. And so that's our system, and it works, and we're happy with it. So you could do something like that, you know, and you'll be good. Oh, I have a super chat. Dr. Petro Binkman, thank you for the super chat, dude. Tips for running a campaign in the Dark Sun setting. I have never ran the Dark Sun setting. I only know a little bit about the Dark Sun setting. So I think I am like horribly underqualified to give you tips for running a campaign in Dark Sun setting. I am sorry. What's the current topic? We're changing a new topic. Next question will determine the current topic. Have you answered how you feel about milestone versus experience points? So I feel like I'm okay with either system if you're using milestones or experience points. In my 5th edition games, back when I started running 5th edition, we used experience points at first, and then we got rid of those and we went to milestone, and I never looked back. Milestone is vastly easier for the game master and my players. Now, some of them probably like the experience points and seeing how close you are to leveling and stuff like that. But one of the advantages that we found is that they were no longer, they didn't feel like they had to kill everything and get into a fight with everything to kind of milk experience points. They weren't worried about the encounters. They were like, okay, the objective is to do this. If we accomplish the objective, we level up. Whee! And so there was a sense of freedom, I think, for them to just kind of be able to accomplish the objective and not really worry about if you bypass an encounter, you're not getting experience points for it or something like that, you know, because, for instance, in Pathfinder 2, we are using experience points, and the rules literally tell you that if you overcome an encounter through non-combat means, but it still presented a challenge to the players, the characters, then you're supposed to award them normal experience points. Because if you don't, they'll just want to, like, you know, kill everything, and then it decentivizes non-combat solutions, which is not good for the overall game experience, generally speaking. And so if you overcome the encounter in a meaningful way, you get full experience points. Cool. All right. But if you overcome an encounter in a trivial manner. Such, for instance, let's pretend that there's a group of ogres guarding the entrance to the dungeon, and you go through the back door. You didn't really overcome that encounter. You just completely avoided it, right? Whereas other scenario, so you wouldn't get any experience points for that. But if you went up to the ogres and you had this conversation, maybe you did like some skill challenge thing and you convinced them to let you through, well, then you get experience points for that. So but the point is that if you're playing Pathfinder 2 and or D&D 5th edition for that example, for that matter, and you're using experience points, a player might be like, look, there are ogres there. Let's not go through the front door. Let's go through the back door. And then other players will be like, yeah, but if we totally just go around them, we're not getting any experience points. So we should go fight them. Okay, you're right. We need to get the experience points. And so having to have experience points tends to force groups into certain decision making for the sake of leveling up. And what we found is that Milestone takes that away and allows you to overcome the challenges before you any way that you can think of, and you still are rewarded for it. And so that's, I think, why I've come that I prefer Milestone, and it's easier for the game master logistically to not have to worry about tracking experience points, because what's going to happen is invariably, unless you're keeping track of all the experience points in every single adventure and how much the players are going to get and keeping total of it and everything and planning your adventures perfectly, what will happen is you design an adventure for level 5, but midway through the adventure they gain level 6, and then you see, you could say that you never level up during an adventure, only after an adventure. There are things you can do to fix that problem, and they're not challenging, right? But anyway, Milestone's easier. Now that said, for Pathfinder 2, we are intentionally using the experience point system. And the reason that I'm doing that, and this is my rule for anytime I run a new game system, and for me, Pathfinder 2, I've been running it for like 8 months or so, it's a new game system for me. My rule is follow the rules as written for at least a year or more before you start changing things, homebrewing or anything like this. I think this is a classic pitfall for game masters when they're running a new game system. Like they'll sometimes want to immediately start homebrewing stuff, like, oh, I'm going to change this and change this and change this. I don't like how this part of the system works, and this. And it's like, dude, you just bought the car. You opened the hood up for the first time and you're already tinkering with things. You have no idea what you're doing. You don't know how that car runs, man. That's a diesel. You've never run one of those before. You're gonna screw that thing up. And then, so it's like my set rule is new game system. You play it rules as written for at least a year so that you know how things work. You have a good feel for stuff so that you have a little bit of experience when you start tinkering with things. And so anyway, point is, I'm like, we're using the rules as written for Pathfinder 2 for now, for probably at least a year, if not longer. So far, I haven't really found anything that I want to change, but we're gonna just. So anyway, that's why we're using experience points more than anything. Is I want to understand the system thoroughly and how the experience points work and how it kind of pans out and stuff, as opposed to just being like, it's too much work, Milestone, What's up, Zach? Goliath Cleric, how you doing, buddy? I'm almost out of coffee. By the way, guys, we have a giveaway going on tonight. So there should be a link in the chat at some point that you guys can join the giveaway. We're giving away DM Lair store credit, $50 of store credit. So you can go on the DM Lair store and get any number of 5th edition or Pathfinder 2 resources to use in your games. So join the giveaway. We're going to draw the winner at the end of the stream, which will be pretty soon. And we are also raising money for All God's Children. They are a nonprofit charity that helps children. Imagine that. They're called All God's Children, and they help children. They help children through lots of orphans. They help provide education, meals, clothing. They help support like the institutions and stuff for the orphans. They do adoptions, international adoptions. A lot of the children that they help are from like developing countries. So it's very cool. All tips will go toward our goal. Our goal is $500. We've raised thus far $100 tonight. Thank you, Aoife, for contributing to that. If you'd like to donate, you can throw a tip my way. Once we get to $500, we make a donation. If you want to donate directly, you're welcome to do so. There is a link in the chat that'll take you to their website. You can do a general donation, and they also have, like, you can sponsor children. You can pick out a child that you want to sponsor directly, and then you can do that, and that's cool. And most of the time, this sort of thing, they'll like send you like information about the child and crap. Sometimes, I don't know if they do this, but some of the organizations where you can directly sponsor will even have the children like correspond with you and crap and tell you stuff. So that might be cool. I don't know if they do that though. I'm just talking. But anyway, if you want to help support what they're doing, feel free to throw a tip or go to their site and donate directly. You have a question for me. Well, why didn't you put the question in your comment, dude? I could have answered it. Let's see. What is your opinion on curse items? I don't. So the way they implemented curses in D&D 5th edition is stupid, because if your players know about the curse before they start using the magic item, they're just not going to use it. Now, if you do the thing where like you can identify the item, but you don't learn the curse until you put it on, well then it's like, okay, cool, now I have a cursed item on me. Great. Somebody cast remove curse. Cool, throw the item away. It's trivial in most games and situations to remove the cursed item. And so at that point, cursed items are like a DM gotcha. You know, it's like, oh, a cool sweet sword. Yeah, of course I'm gonna attune to it. Yeah, baby. Woo! And then like you tune to it, it's like, oh, it's cursed. It's a backstabbing sword. Ah! And the player's like, you got me. Good one. There is literally no way. There's no way for me to know it was cursed. I just had to tune to it, and then I find out it's a backstabbing sword. Good job, DM. You got one on me. Good job. All right, now somebody cast remove curse on this stupid sword so I can throw it away, or give it to an NPC and screw them over. You know, and so the way to remove curses is trivial and stupid in most games. If you're level 1, it's going to be harder, you know, but if you're a game master who gives like a bad cursed item to a character at level 1, then you've reached all levels of cruelty that you should be proud of, I suppose. But the way to do curses better is like, if somebody gets a curse item, removing it shouldn't be trivial. This should be like a special quest or something they have to do to get that curse off. And you should also, ideally, the cursed item should hopefully be a compelling enough magic item or have certain powers that maybe you live with the curse. Like, maybe you're willing to have this curse if you can benefit from the magic item because the benefits are cool or useful enough or something. So I don't necessarily have all the answers to. I mean, okay, so we do have a 5th edition rules rule set for curses and making curses better, and hexes for that matter. And these are some of the ways you can make them better, you know. So you can go on the DM Lair store and grab that. I think, what is it called? I think it's called Cursed Arcanum, or I forget what it's. No, that's a different one. It's a curses. If you go to the DM Lair store and type in curses, you're probably gonna find it. But out of the box, the way they did curses for 5th edition is just kind of unsatisfactory. So you got to tweak some stuff on it to make it more exciting for your games. When is a good time to award experience points to players? So I don't know. It's the best time. What I used to do for my 5th edition games is I would award experience points at the end of every game session. I would tally up the experience points and give them out. Now for my Pathfinder 2 game, what I'm currently doing is I'm giving them experience points after every encounter so that we don't forget or something, I suppose. So I'm just giving them out after every encounter. I don't know that there's a right or wrong way to do it, just as long as you give them their experience points. All right, looking for more questions. Looking for more questions. Cast remove curse and then throw the sword at the DM? Yeah. when you were homebrewing your own creatures or NPCs, do you take other things into consideration outside of the Dungeon Master Guide CR guidance, especially for abilities that trigger occasionally? The thing is that, first of all, we know, if we're talking about D&D 5th edition, we know that they don't, so what they published in the Dungeon Master Guide are not the same rules that the game designers themselves use when creating monsters for the game. So they published and gave us rules that they themselves don't use when making the monsters. Now they probably use a variant of those rules, but they have their own special things that they use to make the monsters. So they don't even follow their own rules as published in the book. Now my suspicion is what probably actually happened, this is my guess, my educated guess, is that probably they were like in the fifth edition development process when it originally began, they were developing the rules for 5th edition, and there gets to a point where you have like a date that you're supposed to have your books in stores and stuff, and you're supposed to release it, and then you work back from that to figure out when the game design has to stop, and you have to do layout so that you can get things to print, you know. So probably after that deadline passed and they were no longer able to make any changes to the books themselves, because you got to ship that stuff and get it printed and stuff, probably game design, because it was just the 5th edition was getting developed, they probably were like, okay, crap, we found some things that we got to change, like the way that we design the monsters and the challenge rating and stuff. They had to make some continual game design tweaks, you know, after things were laid out and going to print. And so my suspicion is that's what happened. They made some continued changes and improvements, I suppose, to how they design monsters, but it never made it to publication because they had to ship the books. You know, that I think that's probably what happened, and that's why they don't use the rules in the book to design their own monsters. To answer your question at some point here, though, what I'm trying to say is that since we know that the monsters that we have in the monster manual and Volo's Guide to Monsters and stuff don't even really follow the rules to begin with that we have in the Dungeon Master Guide, we should therefore take the rules in the Dungeon Master Guide as guidelines to be roughly observed to get us into the ballpark, maybe, of a challenge rating for, at a higher level, a challenge rating system that doesn't really work anyway. So it's all just kind of a guessing game, right? This is like one of the single biggest parts of 5th edition that was really horribly designed / implemented, which is the challenge rating system, the CR of the monsters, and how to build encounters and getting the proper difficulties and stuff and all that, which, by the way, Pathfinder 2 completely solves for, and Paizo knocked it out of the park with, which is another reason that I enjoy Pathfinder 2, because they did a good job of designing that stuff. So this is all to say that the challenge rating system, when you're designing a monster, using the rules in the Dungeon Master Guide, use it as a ballpark, as a guidance, as, you know, but you're going to have to just kind of make decisions along the way and make gut checks, you know. Like, for instance, when we create our monsters for 5th edition, there are some things that monsters can do that aren't addressed by the rules anywhere, and you just kind of have to guess and be like, well, you know, this monster has this special ability. How does that affect challenge rating? I think that it probably increases the challenge rating by 1. I think, you know, and you're guessing on some of these things. So you do the best you can. And at the end of the day, if you have to guess, it doesn't really matter, because remember that the overall challenge rating system doesn't really work that well anyway. So there's no sense in spending too much time worrying if the CR of a particular monster is perfect, because the CR system and the calculations that you're going to plug that number into don't really work anyway. So it's like, if your calculator is broken, does it really matter if it's 2.1 or 2.3? You know, because your calculator is broken, so whatever number you put in, it's going to be a little garbled anyway, so don't worry too much about it. Yes, game design is more of an art and not a math. especially for certain game systems. How have your players taken to PF2 coming from 5th edition? All of them are enjoying our PF2 game. At least a couple of them have specifically said that they enjoy PF2 way more than 5th edition. At least a couple of them. And they gave me very specific reasons too. We had a conversation after one of our games about it. Because I wanted to know like how they were liking PF2. Because if I had gotten a general consensus of Luke, you know, we don't like PF2. Well, then I would have had to, you know, okay, am I going to keep playing this with them if they don't like it? Are we going to try something else? What are we going to do? And so I brought that up with them. Like, hey, how are you guys liking this? You guys liking PF2? And they're like, yes, we are liking it. You know, we're enjoying it. We're having tons of fun. And then a few of them were like, it's better than 5th edition, hands down, you know. And so the consensus generally is that we like it better and we're having tons of fun, you know. And the thing is that there was a point in time where like, when I was still learning PF2 and I was kind of like, you know, I don't know, I wasn't sure if I wanted to stick it through, if I wanted to just scrap it and go back to 5th edition or try something else. I wasn't sure, you know. There was a point in time where it was kind of like, but now I can tell you, after having run it for 8 months, I prefer it so much more than 5th edition, like hands down. I enjoy it way more. It's easier for me as a game master. It's more fun. It's just, I don't know, it's a better game system. So, and that's my experience as the game master running it, you know. I went overboard on my homebrew classes and spells because I got excited. Features go to level 30 and spells 12. Do you have any advice for tuning that stuff back to 20th level? No, dude. I mean, in the Dungeon Master Guide, there are guidelines about how to balance spells for specific levels. So yeah, you can go take a look at those and then tweak those things. But honestly, I personally don't make a whole lot of homebrew classes, especially not classes. Like I was literally, Zach and I, my Goliath cleric and I were literally having a conversation. Should we make, we're gonna publish Escape from the Fae, and our conversation was, should we make any classes, new classes for the module when we release it? And essentially we were like, what are we gonna do that hasn't already been done with the class? And most classes that we see could have easily just been a subclass for an existing class, you know? So I don't know what I'm trying to say. We don't make a whole lot of classes, so I wouldn't be able to give you any guidance on how to make your own homebrew class or to how to tweak it back. Spells is the same boat, dude. Like, most of the spells are already under the sun, you know, so we don't make a whole lot of new spells. We just don't. That's not that we really focus more on game master content as opposed to player content. And for the most part, classes for sure is player content, and spells are also player content. So yeah, I don't really have, I can just tell you, look at the Dungeon Master Guide to see what it says, and then do the best you can, I suppose. The fighter is not hitting as hard as, oh wait, hold on a second. We had another donation. Nolan Bradley, thank you so much for the $100 donation to All God's Children, man. I really, really appreciate that. So we are now at $200 raised for All God's Children. Cool, thank you, dude, I appreciate that. Okay, where was that question now? Oh, jeez, I totally missed your question. I started it. Oh yeah, Josh Scorcher says, do not try to homebrew a Pathfinder 2 class. You would need 50 to 100 feats on top of what the class normally does. Dude, yeah, the classes are like, there's a lot. Like a 5th edition class doesn't take a whole ton, probably, in my experience. Now the playtesting is a different story, but just getting stuff on paper and putting some rules down, not that big of a deal. But correct, Pathfinder 2, there's way more options for the classes, such as feats. So there's a lot more work if you're gonna homebrew a class in Pathfinder 2. 100%. Why are you whacking at him? He's not squirty. He's not doing anything. Like I have little guys up here just kind of being cool, and Squirty Pie is just like just whacking at him for no reason. What resources are there to move 5th edition PCs to Pathfinder 2? I don't know. I would do a Google search and see if there's anything out there. The other option is just to recreate it in Pathfinder 2. It's not a bad idea because it's gonna, especially if you're new to Pathfinder 2, working through the process of creating characters is a good learning experience. It's gonna help you to understand and learn crap. So I wouldn't probably recommend trying to automate the process. I would want to work through it manually so I understand how things work. And I'm reading stuff and I'm choosing stuff. So if I have a monk in 5th edition, I want to make a monk in Pathfinder 2, I would do that manually, you know, so that I can learn as I do it. Cats are jerks. Yes, cats are jerks. Yes, there is Path Builder, which makes it very. This you guys. This is one of the things I love about Pathfinder 2 and Paizo and how they implemented it. That things are free out there. You can go to Archives of Nethys and all the rules for Pathfinder 2 are free, 100% free. I still buy the books because I like books and they're nice, but they're free. The rules are free, and then you can go out to a free site called Path Builder and you can create your Pathfinder 2 character. Drop down menus and it makes it easier, much easier for you to choose all your options and stuff, you know, and it's free. It's free. And Paizo, I don't think Paizo owns Path Builder, but they're cool with Path Builder people. It's like Wizards of the Coast, like they want everything to be a walled garden, and they want to be the only ones that have a character creation tool. Like there used to be a character creation tool for 5th edition. I forget the name of it, and Wizards of the Coast shut them down a few years back, because Wizards wants you to have a D&D Beyond subscription and purchases to be able to make your character online. Like if you want to be able to make your character easily with an automated tool online, you have to go to D&D Beyond. They want that walled garden, baby, where only they have those tools and you got to pay them money to use them, you know. And that's just Hasbro's product lines are suffering horribly, and they're just trying to milk D&D and Magic the Gathering of every penny they can, you know. And one of the ways of doing that is forcing you to have to go to D&D Beyond to make your character in an easy way, you know. And so, but Paizo's not like that, and Pathfinder 2 is not like that. Things are free, and you know, you don't have, if you don't want to buy a book, you don't have to. I would, because books are nice, you know. And you can get PDFs too, dude. I have PDFs. All of my Paizo purchases, I have PDFs of everything, because they have no problems giving you PDFs. Whereas Wizards of the Coast wants everybody to have to go to DVD Beyond, so the PDFs are a no-no, you know. Yeah, she always does this. Like, she's not in pain. She's just, this is what she does when you pet her. She's crazy. Oh, the fighter is not hitting as hard as a warlock and feeling not as useful. How can I make combat more enjoyable for the fighter? What is your warlock doing that he's outclassing the fighter? What is the fighter not doing? So I feel like I need to challenge the premise of that question. The premise of the question assumes that all classes are or should be created equally in D&D 5th edition, and that is not true at all. Like, there are definitively classes in 5th edition that are better than others. There are some classes that suck and others that are really good. So if you or your players playing that game are assuming or want classes to be equal and balanced as far as power level, you're going to be sorely disappointed. And
And depending on the level of your disappointment or not, it's going to be the level of play you're at. So for instance, in low levels, monks suck hard. Squishy pieces of crap that got nothing. They die fast and their DPS sucks. But once you get into middle levels and especially high levels, monks are the bomb. Monks are insanely awesome, right? And then your build is gonna matter. Like there are fighter builds you can make that are just like, you know, it's not that bad. And there are other fighter builds that are like, whoa, holy crap. And Paladin. Paladin, you can almost not go wrong. Paladin is a powerhouse, almost no matter how you slice it. I suppose you probably could screw up Paladin. And if you pick Ranger straight out of the book, so the premise that all characters or classes should be the same power level in 5th edition is just incorrect. And if you are trying to accomplish that, you're going to be disappointed. And if your fighter is lagging behind in some way from the warlock in your experience in your game, well, you know, shoot, dude, that's your problem today. Tomorrow, it's just going to be a different problem of a different class that's more powerful or less powerful. You know, and you're just going to have this never-ending fight of like trying to like balance things out. It's easier to just accept that that's not the way the game is set up. In 5th edition D&D, like the classes are not equal. Some are way more powerful and some are less powerful, and the level that you're at might change that as well. It's not, the classes were not balanced. They just weren't. They aren't. Period. End of story. So you can either fight against that and try to rebalance them and do things, or you can just accept that that's the way it is, you know. And if you don't want to accept that, then you want them to be balanced, you really have two choices. You homebrew those things and change them somehow and try to balance them, and you know, it's gonna take some time, right? Or you can change to a different game system where things are better balanced, you know, and save yourself that time. But you have to learn a new game system, or you can homebrew a whole bunch of crap and keep trying to fix stuff. So I don't know. It might be even Steven at that point, but I would rather just, if I were playing a game system that were unsatisfying at like a foundational level, you know, then I'm probably gonna, instead of homebrewing the dumb game, I'm gonna find a game that fits more of what I want to play. So if having classes being very balanced is important to you and your players, then D&D 5th edition is probably not the system for you. It's not a balanced system in almost any respect. So you probably want to go to something that's more balanced. Obviously Pathfinder 2 is more balanced. There are probably other game systems as well that you can find that are going to fit what you're looking for, you know, or you homebrew a whole bunch of crap. I didn't really answer your question. I probably just made you depressed. You don't have crippling depression because of me. I apologize. All right. What am I doing? I think we're gonna draw the winner to our giveaway. So if you'd like to enter the giveaway and you have not already, this is your last chance. There's a link in the chat. We're giving away $50 store credit on the DM Lair store. You get a whole bunch of 5th edition and Pathfinder 2 resources. So enter the giveaway if you haven't already. We're gonna draw the winner in just a little bit. I'll probably answer another question or so here before we do that. You can also, if you've already entered the giveaway and you would like to help children out, you can also donate to All God's Children. This is the non-profit charity that we are currently raising funds for. Our goal is $500. We are already at $200. We are, what is that? We are 2/5 of the way there. I'm like, that's not quite a half. It's not a third either. It's 2/5 exactly. So these guys help out orphans. They clothe, feed, they help with their education. They do adoptions and things like that. They help human trafficking victims. They do lots of amazing stuff in our world. So if you'd like to help support them, all tips will go to them. You can also support them directly by going to their site. There is a link in the chat, down in the chat messages and stuff. There is a link to where you can tip and give money to them, or you can just go to their site, like I said, and support them. You can do like a general donation, and they also have an option where you can literally support a specific child and stuff. So very cool folks doing awesome stuff in the world. So if you'd like to support them, please do so. Waterbender Poodle says no depression. The DM Lair helped me start DMing. Awesome. Thank you, dude. I'm happy to be able to help. Every time I get a message where somebody's like, you know, yeah, that makes me feel good. Thanks, dude. Shaz, what's up, dude? We're doing well, man. You're hitting the tail of the stream. How do I deal with a player that would rather argue than listen to any advice or criticism? So the way you worded that question, oh, I should probably go back to my full screen now. The way you worded that question makes it seem like you've already talked with them, and so there's some sort of situation with them that they want to argue a lot about stuff, and you've already tried talking with them, and they don't want to listen to any advice or criticism. So it sounds like you've tried to give them feedback to resolve the situation, but it's not helping. This is crazy. Check this out. Check this out. Where is it? There you go. You gotta put this on the big screen, man. Squirty Pie, what are you doing down there? I swear, like, I can't turn around without a cat licking their butt. Like, this is what they do. And Orange is supervising. He's like, the Squirty Pie is like, wait, holy crap, I'm on TV. She's like Buddha, just licking her belly. Squirty Pie, what are you doing? Squirty, that's inappropriate. If I were a better human being, I wouldn't put her on the big screen, but she had it coming. What were we talking about? I was answering a question about... Oh, yes. So if you have a player who, like, is just super argumentative, you try to give them feedback, and they're not listening to you, they're not changing, and they're just being just completely, like, whatever. And you've tried talking to them and it's not working. She's like shocked. She's like, I don't know what to do. Should I stop licking? Should I continue licking? I don't know what to do. Put me off the big screen. I mean, there's got to be a certain point at which you just tell the player adios, goodbye, have a nice day. You're not in the group anymore. You know, I'm assuming they're causing some sort of problem that is detrimental to gameplay. That people aren't having fun, they're causing disruption, something's going on that's causing a big problem, and they just want to argue, and they're not willing to change, and they won't listen to feedback or criticism or something. I'm assuming there's a big problem going on, and they're just like, they're unwilling to do any to change or anything, and they're going to continue causing that problem. So at some point you got to say, well, why am I leaving them in the group? Why are they still here? Like, at some point you got to consider removing them. Like, it has to come to that at some point. You know, and you might be there already. You might have already tried talking to them, and they're just like, nope, I'm gonna argue, and I don't care. Well, then get them out of the group, dude. Like, do everybody a favor. Do everybody a favor. You know, if you've already tried to do the adult thing by talking with them and resolving it like a nice, decent human being, and they're still causing a problem, and they're just gonna argue with you, and they don't want to change, well, then it's probably time to get them out of the group. You know, if they're causing a problem that is a game stopper, that you don't want to continue running the game, if they're going to keep doing that, then get them the heck out of there. I 100% guarantee you, dude, like, I have had to remove 3 players from my games over the years, I think. 3 players? Yeah, 3 players. And I'm going to tell you, man, every single time that I've removed one of these players, the games get so much better. Immediately we're like, oh my gosh, the game is so much more fun now because that player is no longer here. And every single time, I'm so tolerant, you guys. Like, when I have a problem player, I am like the most patient, tolerant dude, trying to work with them and talk with them and try to resolve things. Like, I don't like conflicts, and I like everybody to be happy. I want everybody to get along. I want everything to be great for everyone. And so when I have a problem player, I'm like, I give them so much time to, like, I talk with them and all this type of stuff, and so usually my removing a problem player takes some time, and when it finally comes to removing them, one of the very first, after we realize how much more fun the game is, one of the very first things in my mind is, I should have kicked them out sooner. Why did I wait so long? But that's 2020, right? Like you can't know that your efforts to try to fix the problem were going to be unsuccessful, so there's a little bit element of that regret to just having perfect hindsight, but my point is you have to be willing to remove a bad player. If you don't, then your worst nightmare might happen, and that worst nightmare is the bad player is so bad that all of your good players start leaving the game, and then you're left with the bad player. That's a nightmare. No. Get the bad player out of your group before the good players leave. And even if they don't leave, you're all probably not enjoying the game that much because you got a bad player. Just do yourself and everybody else a favor. Big boy pants. Get rid of the player if that's what it needs to happen, Yeah, I do have videos out there about dealing with problem players and how to remove them and deal with them and crap like that. So, yeah. My hand hurts. Okay. Let's do our giveaway. Thank you, Sean, for the tip. I appreciate that, dude. I didn't realize the stream also sent to the charity as well, or would have tipped more to this one. Cool, thank you, dude. We used to support charities all the time, and then in the summer, for whatever reason, I just stopped doing it. I don't know. I don't really have a good reason. But recently, I literally, like, I've supported this charity before, and they sent me a letter, and it was giving information about, like, this is a different charity. This is a different charity that we're going to be supporting once we get these guys some money. But in this letter they sent me, they were just telling a story about this girl that they helped, and stuff like that. And I was just kind of like, why did I stop giving to charities with the streams? That was a stupid decision. I think I was just being lazy or something because it takes effort. I don't know. But anyway, I was reading these letters I got, and I was like, you know what? We're gonna start doing the charity thing again, baby. And so here we are. So yeah. Thank you, dude. I appreciate your support. I did get a super chat that I missed. Lord of the Unfinished Project. I feel that it'd be much easier to make an archetype or subclass in Pathfinder 2e. I don't know. There are a lot more elements that need to be created. That's for sure. But I don't know if it would be easier or not. You got too busy with the Kickstarter? I don't know. I was just being lazy. Because, it's like every little thing that you do takes effort. And so if I have to, set up links to a charity, pick a charity, and then I don't know, it seems like little stuff. It's like, oh my gosh, you can't even picking a charity and putting links in your bot for stream elements. That's hard work, isn't it? It's like, you don't understand. When you just have like a never-ending pile of work, every little thing matters. And so your brain sometimes gets to the point where it's just like, I don't want to do all of this. And so it just starts picking things where you're just like, I'm not doing that. I'm done doing that. Oh my gosh, stop doing that. And for whatever reason, this was one of the things that was burning my brain. Like every time I had to stream, I don't know, it's stupid. It doesn't it's not logical, But sometimes when you're just overwhelmed and stressed, you don't make logical decisions. And you're just like, this is one thing that I don't have to do. Okay, cool, get that off my plate. And so, but anyway. I should have eliminated something else, but anyway. Okay, we're gonna draw the winner to our giveaway. Winners. Draw the winner, baby. Draw the winner. Draw the winner. Drawing.
Okay. Ben from Boise, Idaho. Ben from Boise, Idaho. You have won, good sir. I will send you an email and we will get you hooked up with some store credit and you'll get to go get yourself some cool crap off our store. Eee. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're done. I've gone over. I was supposed to stop 17 minutes ago, but I was late starting the stream, so I feel like that kind of evens things out. So have yourselves a wonderful evening. New Year's is coming up, so you guys got to do the New Year's stuff. You know what I'm gonna be doing on New Year's? What day is New Year's? New Year's is like a Monday, right? I have to work on Monday, so I will be going to bed at 8 p.m. New Year's Eve, so that I can get up at 4 a.m. New Year's Day and work, because that's a work day for me. That's what I will be doing on New Year's. That's what I did on Christmas too. And work. I have so much work to do. I do take days off, but anyway, have yourselves a wonderful time. I'm like trying to get work done and everybody's on vacation. All right, I gotta go. I'm going to bed, guys. Have a wonderful evening. I gotta stop this stream. All right, here we go. Whee!